And we currently are implementing a project that is titled the Kenya Elections Preparedness, whose main goal is to strengthen Kenya's governance architecture for credible, inclusive, and transparent electoral processes, even as we move toward the 2022 general election. And one of the activities under the project is that we are in the process of training political parties elections boards on the fundamentals of transparent and inclusive party primaries as exposed in the proposed party primaries legal and policy framework that is currently that has been proposed by Honorable Moura. And we hope that with time it will be taken up, and we will have, we will now have a legislation that governs the conduct of party primaries. And so for that purpose, today we have with us Ms. Roslyn Odede, Senior Counsel, who's going to take us not only through the to just summarize for us what the provisions of the party primaries are, because initially we had meetings where we discussed that bill extensively and we got feedback from the participants, but to also highlight to us the overall process of the overall political processes from the nomination within the political party up to the end where we go to the elections, and how we can have those processes being inclusive and transparent so as to ensure that everyone, including the SIGs, are well represented. And so for today's meeting, we will have Ms. Roslyn Odede again, being the facilitator for the day. On board again, we'll have our ED from Ford Kenya, Mr. Namusule, being the moderator, who's going to guide us, to get the overall conduct of the meeting to ensure that we have a flawless, uninterrupted discussions towards this meeting for today. And so without so much further ado, I can see we are again, we've had one more participant join us and we are 17. Let me just take a quick round of introduction. And I hope everyone is able to mute and unmute from their side. So once I call your name, kindly, if you can hear me, unmute, say hello to everyone, and then mute back so that we can ensure that we are not, making the meeting to be chaotic by leaving our microphones on. So I'm going to start with Honorable Mando. Mando, if you can hear me, kindly unmute and say hello to everyone. Honorable Chris Mando, if you can hear me, good morning.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Yes. Welcome to the meeting, and let's have a very perspective meeting. We welcome everybody. I hope everyone understands the language we are using. We have our brothers from different areas. So, I don't know. Okay.
Thank you so much, Honorable Chris. Kindly mute your mic. I'm going to now go to Hudson. Hudson, if you can hear me, kindly unmute and say hello to everyone. I think Hudson cannot get me. Let me move to Hadija. Hadija, good morning, if you can hear me.
Good morning. My name is Hadija Mustafa, and I'm excited to be in this meeting. I hope we have an interactive meeting and get good results and opinion by the end of it all.
Thank you so much, Hadija. Kindly mute your mic. Hadaisa, good morning, if you can hear me. Kindly, I can see you speaking, but kindly unmute your mic first. We can still not hear you as you prepare to unmute your mic. Let me go to David Burare. David, good morning. Kindly unmute.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Good morning, everybody. My name is David Burare. I'm well set for today's meeting. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Burare, and welcome to today's meeting. Kindly mute your mic. Adaisa, I can see you've unmuted. Kindly say hello to everyone.
Hamjambo,
Jambo, jambo.
ni Adaisa Gilo kutoka Tana River. Ninashukuru kwa ujoin mkutano.
Asante sana na karibu sana kwa mkutano wa leo. Naomba kama unaweza sasa zima microphone yako ndio tuendelee na wengine. We have another participant logged in with Neon Ray Pro. Okay, I think he has. We can hear me. I don't think he can hear me. I think he has just left. Michael Kabogo, good morning, if you can hear me. Michael Kibogo, good morning.
Morning. Go from Homa Bay. Morning to you from Homa Bay County. Do you hear me?
Yes, Michael, we can hear you. Thank you so much and welcome to today's meeting. I'm going to kindly request that once we speak, we mute back our mics. Now let me move on to Ruben. Ruben, good morning. Ruben Ameli, good morning. I think Ruben has a problem with his mic. Although I can see him unmuted, but I cannot see him speaking. Now let's move to Johnston. Johnston, good morning. I don't think Johnston can hear us. Christopher Kileta, good morning. Okay, Christine Sudi, good morning.
Hi, good morning. This is Christine Sudi, and looking forward to the meeting.
Thank you so much. We're happy to have you today. Dr. Janet Komenda, good morning, if you can hear me.
Good morning to you all. It's a good morning. We don't take it for granted. Let us remember our brothers in India who are dying day in, day out, and let us also keep our safety. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Janet, and welcome to today's meeting. And finally, John Hereng, if you can hear me, good morning. Okay, I don't think John can hear us. I hope I haven't left anyone out. So without so much further ado, let me go welcome now the ED, Mr. Stephen Namusule, to welcome his members officially to today's meeting and to also welcome Ms. Roslyn Odede. I can see.
Thank you, Maureen. Good morning, everybody. Hearty greetings from our national headquarters, my leaders, and our facilitator, plus our sponsor. Thank you for this occasion. We are here at least to interact with experts on electoral matters as prepared by our center CMD, presented by Council Adede. The subject at hand is a very familiar matter that affects all of us, particularly you members of the Elections Board within the party National Elections Department, and the rest of the county officials who are our pillars in various areas you come from. And as you can see, we try to reach out to almost every corner of the Republic for the purposes of this meeting so that we get to understand a little more about the most important requirements we need as a party, we need as leaders, wherever we are, I think to activate. During this session, we are moving towards 2022 general elections, so that we remain alert. And as our candidates come for guidance, we shall be in a better position to guide them on how to prepare themselves for the 2022 general elections in whatever position they want to vie for. This is the whole reason why we are here. And most of you are remaining counties which have elected leaders from the national up to the county level. And it is for that reason that we brought you in to ensure that you share with us in this new experience to be in a position to deal with more and more challenging questions that may arise from candidates. So let's not go too deep into what our presenter and the sponsor may have prepared for us, but let us prepare ourselves to listen carefully, and at the end of the day, ask questions, raise comments with regard to helping us to understand this subject of transparent nominations during our primaries properly. So karibu, and may I have the honor now to welcome our presenter, Madam Council Adede, I think, to get onto the steering and take us across. You are a very familiar friend and we appreciate you, particularly last time you took us through our nomination rules. We noted quite a number of important areas to touch, and we believe that through this discourse, we shall also take 2-3 points home to enable us amend our documents, think for better practices within the party. Thank you very much and welcome leaders. And as I said, we have very top national leaders and very strong county pillars that have been invited for this session to benefit the party in their listening. Thank you very much, and the karibu, Madam Roslyn.
Thank you. Great. Good morning, everyone. I trust you're all well, happy, and ready to engage this morning. Good morning, CMD. Thank you for inviting me to be here this morning and engage with the Ford Kenya Party. It's an honor and indeed a pleasure. This morning, sorry, Maureen, are you able to share your slides, or Tracy, you'll be assisting? Okay, can we start? Thank you. So yes, this morning we're going to talk about political party nominations. And because we already talked about the party primaries bill at length last year at some point, I thought it would be important for us to probably understand what's the existing regime for party nominations before we go into the proposals, because the proposals are still a bill, and they may not become law before the next elections, because the elections are less than are just slightly over a year away. And yes, we know the proposer of the bill, Honorable Mwaura, is also having problems in his party and may not leave to push the bill through the Senate. So I thought it would be important for us to understand the existing climate and then go ahead and look at the proposals in the bill so that we go away with both sides of the coin. Should the bill come to pass, we will probably have to look at it again and see how to engage with it going forward. But I think what's important now is political parties to be ready to go for the elections within the current regime, because that's the law. And unless it changes, we are stuck with it. So karibuni sana, and let's do this. If you find that our issue you really can't keep to the end and you want to interrupt in the course of the presentation, you're welcome to do so. The ED will be moderating, so he will help with that, and we can continue to engage. So thank you very, very much. So let's first consider what's the legal environment under which we are operating in terms of party primaries, what exists. Now, I think the first port of call would be the Constitution of Kenya, because it's from the Constitution of Kenya that we draw the seats that are available, the systems of representation, the system of governance, the various assemblies that we can have in this country. So all that comes from the Constitution, which sets the basis for all that. The IEBC is also a constitutional entity. It is found in the Constitution. We have the Parliament, which is a Senate and the National Assembly. We have the devolved government also provided for within there, and we have the presidency, which is referred to as the executive. So all that stems from the Constitution, and it's therefore the Constitution that gives validity to the existence of political parties. It gives validity to the process of party nominations and gives validity to the process of elections in the country. The other thing that the election does, it is recognizes the principality of having 2/3 of either gender in all elective and appointive positions. So that again is a constitutional provision and it stems there. We also have the provision that relates to PWDs that say that we should aspire progressively to have 5% PWDs represented in every entity. So all those are constitutional provisions around leadership and therefore things that would be of concern to a political party as we are going forward. We then have the Elections Act. The Elections Act has got very several provisions that relate to nominations, and it's a document that I think should almost be like a Bible for political parties as they engage towards elections. So that's one act we're going to spend a lot of time looking at its provisions today. We also have the Political Parties Act, and the Political Parties Act gives validity to the existence of political parties, provides for the regime of registration and how they're administered or monitored or supervised. So all that is in the Political Parties Act. But of greatest interest to us for today's interaction will be the Political Parties Fund, which is provided for within the Political Parties Act. Then, of course, we have the internal party nomination rules, internal party constitutions, which also regulate how parties engage in their nominations and party primaries. So yes, the party nomination rules are also a critical part of the legal regime that a political party needs to look at while trying to carry out its party primaries. The only qualification is that the nomination rules must not be in conflict with the law. They must be compliant, they must be in line with what is provided in the Constitution, the Elections Act, and the Political Parties Act. So that's just it as the background and legal regime. So we'll quickly look at some of the provisions that are existing, and we'll look at the provisions first in the Elections Act. Now, one of the first things is for anyone who wants to participate in a party primary, anybody who wants to be an aspirant or a candidate must meet the eligibility criteria. And we all know the eligibility criteria. I won't look at them, but we know there's criteria for a presidential candidate, there's criteria for a governor, for member of parliament, and for member of county assembly. They are all found in the Constitution, and we are aware of what they are. But beyond the eligibility criteria that is in the Constitution, political parties can probably set other criteria for people who want to contest those positions in their party, so that some might require you to have been a party member for longer, some might require you to have done some service to the political party. So the criteria is not just what we have in the Constitution and in the Elections Act, but a political party can, in its nomination rules, broaden the requirements for their candidates. So that is legal, and there's nothing wrong with that. One thing we need to be alive to is the amendment that was introduced to the Elections Act in 2017. The election that requires candidates who want to vie as members of parliament and want to vie as members of the county assembly to have a degree as a minimum educational qualification. That provision is found in the law. It was amended in 2017, but it was provided that it shall not come to apply until the next general election, which general election is now what we are approaching in 2022. So in the next election, all prospective candidates for any position in the country must have a degree. I think that's what the law is kind of saying. And I thought I need to just bring this to your attention because I found quite a few people are not aware that this amendment is there in the Elections Act. So yes, what is one of the first things a political party must do if it wants to engage in party primaries? One of the first things you must do is submit your nomination rules to the commission at least 6 months before the nomination of candidates. Now, if we look at the laws, it provides that nomination of candidates should occur at the latest 3 months to the general elections. So when we say 6 months to the nomination of candidates, we are actually talking 9 months to the general election. So 9 months to the general election is December of this year, I believe so, because we are looking at August of next year. So one thing we need to be ready for as a political party is that our nomination rules should be complete and ready for submission by the end of this year to the commission. So if there's anything we need to do to it, we got to do it now because time is running out for the submission of those rules to the commission. Then the other thing we need to be aware is once we submit them to the commission, we cannot amend them for a period of 90 days. So once you give them to the commission, they are cast in stone for a period of 90 days. And that might affect your general election nominations if you do not make sure they are right now. So you owe yourselves the duty to ensure that the nomination rules is a document you're happy with as a party. If you need to do public participation with your members, do it now so that when you submit them, there's no grumbling and you're content and happy with them. So timelines there, let's know them and let's prepare effectively for that. Once your nomination rules are submitted to the commission reviews the rules to see that they are compliant, and the compliance are areas of minimum criteria for eligibility, gender compliance, and such other issues. They will look at them and see that you are compliant. And if the rules are okay in the view of the commission, they will issue you with a certificate of compliance. But should they find that there's something they're not happy about, they shall require you to amend it and return it to them for further review. Next slide, please, Tracy. So once this is done, the commission must issue regulations and guidelines for parties to comply with in their nomination. So that will be done. Regulations and guidelines may be issued by the commission, and this has to be gazetted and put in one newspaper of wide circulation. But this really should not affect us. Tracy, can someone help Christopher Kileta? I think he has not managed to connect his audio to us, so he's not hearing us. Could you please ask someone, maybe Isaac or someone, to assist him on the side? Thank you. So party lists, membership lists. Now, a political party, as we all know, is required to maintain party membership registers. So once you maintain this register, it must be up to date. And 4 months to the general election, you're required to submit to the commission your confirmed party list, membership list. And once you submit this, can I be heard? Are you people hearing me? Tracy, are you hearing me?
Yes, I am. Yes, I am, Roslyn.
I can hear you.
I see even Stephen is saying he can't hear me. I think they need to be assisted, please, so that they can hear us. Okay, thank you. Thank you for the confirmation. So yes, the party list must be ready 4 months to the general election. And we must be sure that the list is what we want to have, because it is that list that you shall be required to use for your party nominations. So it's important that we start updating our party membership list to have give people an opportunity to I think there are a lot of people with audio problems. I don't know what you can do. Isaac, please just keep touch of those who are commenting and assist them. So the party list is what we will use for the party nomination. So it's important that you engage right now in a process of updating the party list, giving your members an opportunity to verify the list and be happy with it, so that by the time you present it to the commission next year around March, the membership is happy with it and it's a document you're ready to use for your party primaries. The party register is a very crucial document, as we discussed before, because it can actually insulate the party from imposters and other people coming into your party primaries to spoil it for you. There have been instances where people infiltrate the other political parties' primaries to actually vote in a weak candidate so that their own candidate ends up winning the general election. So it's important and crucial. It's important and crucial to ensure that the party list is updated and that you can rely on it for your party primaries. I know a lot of political parties that do not have a register at the time of their primaries and end up using something from the registrar that is not very good for them, and therefore opens up their party to third-party imposters who come in to spoil. So let's just make sure that our party registers are in order. Next slide, please. A political party may appoint an agent for its candidates. Now, the right to appoint an agent is actually given to a political party, so that political parties have the duty to appoint agents. But then the law further provides that where your party does not appoint an agent, the candidate may nominate their own agent. And this is in relation to the general election. When it comes to the party primaries, each aspirant should have their own agent at every polling station to secure and ring fence their vote and the security of the entire voting process. Now, this is a very important provision for political parties, especially for the general election, because if you have good, well-trained agents at every polling station, you can be able to monitor the vote, monitor the veracity of the vote, actually keep track of any wrongdoing that's going on, so that you are able to document should you need to petition what went wrong. But the problem is most of the agents that I have seen on the ground whenever I go in to observe elections is that most of the agents seem not to even be aware of why they are in that voting station. Some of them are just on their phone gossiping away. They have no idea what's going on around them. Some just sit there even when things are going wrong. And I think this is one area where political parties really need to strengthen their systems, because this is where we start losing it as a political party. If we cannot document what's going wrong at the ballot, what's going wrong at the voting, then we are not able to sustain a good election petition. So we really need to we really need to be sure that our agents are in place. I think there's still quite a number of people struggling with their audio. They're being assisted. I hope they'll be able to catch up. So we continue to the next slide, and let's actually put that as a note that agents are very, very useful to us. Nomination of political party candidates. This is the procedure that they provide for parties. And they say that the commission will only recognize a candidate that has been selected in a manner that's constitutional and one who has a certificate from the party certifying that he is the candidate for that party. So one thing a political party must put in place is a system for certifying candidates for nomination. So once they are able to put that system in place, then the commission will be able to recognize your candidate. And most often, how do you do this? It is because you need to have Christopher, could you kindly mute your mic? Thank you. You do that by ensuring you have a person identified and known as the only person who can sign the certificate, and this person must be told to the commission early enough and their specimen signature sent so that the commission can verify certificates being brought to him as being valid certificates from your political party. Now, it says also, it also provides that a political party may request the commission to conduct and supervise its party primaries for it. And the law provides that the commission shall, upon the request of that party, proceed to conduct and supervise the party primaries. Now, the word shall for me here imports that it is mandatory for the commission to proceed to supervise where a request is made. So they do not have a right to refuse. They must come in and assist a political party. So where a political party defines that it doesn't have the structures and capacity to carry out nominations in the entire country, they may invite IEBC in to assist them with the nominations. And when they do that, you might have to share the cost, but it is a subsidized cost, and it might be useful and helpful to the party in that regard. Next slide. Now, where a political party intends to hold their party nominations, you will, as a party, call for aspirants to apply and come in, and then you will vet them, and eventually you will have a list of aspirants. This list of aspirants must be submitted to the commission at least 21 days before the nomination day. So this is almost 3 months and 3 weeks before the general election. So we should be preparing around those times that we need to have asked for applicants before this time. We need to have our list of aspirants, and we submit them to the commission at least 3 weeks before the nomination day, which will be almost 3 months and 3 weeks before the party primaries. Once you provide this list to the commission must within 7 days publish that list in a newspaper of wide circulation and also in the Gazette, in the Kenya Gazette. So that will be done. So this casts in stone who can be aspirants in your party primaries. This is basically actually to secure the interest of the aspirants, to ensure that the party cannot willfully just change the list, and to ensure some sort of fairness and fair competition as we go to the party primaries. Now, we talked about requesting the commission to conduct the primaries on behalf of a political party. Now, where the commission receives multiple requests to conduct and supervise party primaries, that means it receives a request from more than one political party, and therefore is bombarded by several requests to have these primaries conducted by them. The law permits the commission to conduct those primaries on the same day for all the different political parties. And they can actually also use the same polling centers. The only requirement is that each political party be provided with its own polling stream. So if requests are made of the commission jointly, then not jointly, but several requests are made of the commission, then the primaries can actually be held on the same day in the same venues, but with different streams for each political party. This can also lead to reduced costs for both parties, for both the party and the IBC, and actually can be cost effective when we think around it. Next slide. Now, the law also provides that Parliament shall appropriate monies to enable the commission effectively assist political parties conduct their primaries. This means, therefore, that because it's being subsidized, Parliament must furnish money to the commission so that the commission is able to meet you halfway in terms of costs. And this actually translates into also a cheaper, manageable primary for the political parties. So this is something, and it's one of the most newer amendments in the Act. So this is something political parties, I think, should take advantage of. Of course, there was always the provision that you could request IDC to hold your primaries, but now even the funding is provided so that you share costs and subsidize the cost. So it's probably something political parties should begin engaging them about and finding out, how do they hope to do this? How do we hope to achieve it? Let's have that engagement early enough so that by the time the elections and party primaries are coming up, it's a known how the territory and the terrain works, so that we are able to benefit from this provision. Now, we talked about this, providing the name of the person authorized by the party to certify the nomination signatures and the deposit of his or their specimen signature with the commission. So this is something we've talked about. It's important that we know who can sign the certificates so that there are no fake certificates finding their way into the commission and landing up into litigation. So I think it's important that parties know this. And I think I would say this is provided for in your nomination rules, so it shouldn't be a challenge, I think, for your party going forward. The certificates must be in writing and in the hand of that person, and he should sign them. Next slide. Now, I took a little time out just to talk about independence briefly. I know you're a political party and not quite interested in independent candidates, but I thought I should mention this so that you understand who may vie as an independent and when they may leave your party or when they may not be leave your party, and when you may complain about an independent trying to run as independents while they are not meeting the bill because they were your members up to a late time. So they provide here that any person who intends to vie as an independent must submit their symbol and name to the commission at least 21 days before the nomination day. Now, this is 21 days before the party primaries. This is the same day on which political parties are providing their list of aspirants to the commission. So what does this mean? I think what this means, therefore, is that an independent cannot be an aspirant in a political party because we are providing our lists and names at the same time. And this is before the party primaries. This is before the party primaries. Bramwell, kindly mute your mic. Thank you. So an independent Sorry, the host muted me briefly. An independent will now be technically barred from running in a party primary, losing, and then coming back to be an independent. So hakuna kubahatisha sasa. You either decide to run with us as a political party, or from go just decide I'm an independent na hivi ndio nitaamua. So I think this is an amendment that has actually protected us from what we saw in 2017 when people were participating in primaries and immediately declaring themselves non-party members and vying as independents. So that's something we need to remember, that those who want to be independents cannot be aspirants on our list. They must have done certain things with the commission before the nomination day. So next slide, please. So the law here provides that a person qualifies to be nominated as an independent if that person has not been a member of any political party for at least 3 months preceding the date of the election. Now, 3 months is also the deadline for holding party nominations. So if the trend continues as it has been in the past, most political parties hold their nominations in that last week to the 90-day deadline. So it is impossible also to participate here and meet this provision of not having been a member at least 3 months to the elections, because that 3 months is probably the day on which most parties will be conducting their party primaries. So it's not possible to participate in the primary, resign, and then go. So I think that's something that's trying to be blocked there, so that people cannot participate in primaries and then still try and become independent. People must make up their minds right from go. Let's go to the next slide, please. Now, nomination of party list members. Now, the party list are those seats that are available for nomination. The seats like the top-up seats and the special seats, all those are what we are calling the party list members. Now, for people to be elected to those party lists, it must be done on the basis of proportional representation. So the party with the largest party in the National Assembly or Parliament or the County Assembly, National Assembly, Senate, or the County Assembly shall have more votes, more seats allotted to them, and it keeps going down until we have enough of the seats taken. So a party must submit a party list to the commission, and the party list must be compliant with the law. When we talk about compliant with the law, it must take into account regional balance, it must take into account gender, it must take into account the interest of the youth, the PWDs, the minorities, and the marginalized. So all that must be there, and the party must certify that our list has complied with those provisions. So a political party has the duty to ensure that it takes into account those various requirements. And then the list must be submitted in order of priority, so that you number your members for nomination in order of priority. Number one should be your most favored, number two, number three, going down. So the list has to have an order of priority, because the commission will pick in the order in which you put them. Now, when I say that, I know that there's always a lot of controversy over how the names are picked, because sometimes number one on your list is left in favor of number two, and that you as a political party are not understanding why was number one not picked. At times, you find that the commission has not given you any seats for allocation, and when you're calculating, you're feeling, no, we deserve to have a person being nominated. Sometimes it gives you just one seat, and you ask yourself, how does this happen? The allocation of seats is a very technical issue that happens at the commission. They have to make lots and lots of considerations when they're doing this. When they're doing this, they must ensure that the list of people being elected under the party lists are meeting the regional balance, are meeting the requirements of youth diversity, PWD diversity, minorities and ethnic minorities, and the marginalized are in, and women too. I forgot to mention women, and women too. So they have to ensure that this balance is achieved by going through your list. So sometimes they are forced to skip the number one on your list, because the number one on the other party's list, which they have already picked, is of similar descent as your number one. So these are the challenges they have. It's a very technical thing, but I still think sometimes they get it wrong, because I still do not understand how, for instance, we have county assemblies who do not meet the requisite gender balance that is required. It doesn't make sense when the commission is given the power to nominate such number of women that will ensure gender balance, and then we have assemblies that are not gender balanced. It doesn't make sense to me. So definitely something is going wrong at the commission. And this is one area where I think political parties need to be vigilant right from go. Political parties need to engage the commission right from go. I know we have the political liaison committee. We can use that to engage the commission right from the time of nominations, right from the time of submission of the party list, so that there's a clear understanding of how they are going to allocate those seats, because it has been a problem. It will continue to be a problem unless we can engage and be certain that this is how it is going to happen. So I think that is important, that is crucial. And something that we need to work around. So yes, we submit the list in order of priority. Our priority might still be not considered because of regional issues, gender issues, youth issues. So I think we need to engage because it's never been very, very transparent how the commission goes about that technical aspect of their task. Next slide. Now, the party list that you submit is valid for the term of parliament. So it's valid for the 5-year period that parliament is on. And once a person is nominated to sit on that seat, they serve for the term of that parliament as well. But a person may lose that seat if they are disciplined by the party and probably expelled, if they resign, if they withdraw, or unfortunately, if they die, then that seat goes. And if that seat goes, if that person ceases to occupy that seat, the seat still belongs to the political party to which it was given in the first place. So the IBC will just go back to the party list you gave it and pick the next person in order of priority and allocate them that seat. And therefore, that is what happens. The party list cannot be amended. It is valid for the term of that parliament. It cannot be amended once it's accepted by IEBC. It is cast in stone and it stays. And the party list should not contain the name of a candidate nominated for an election. Now, the name of a candidate nominated for an election cannot be in the party list. This has also been a very thorny and contentious issue. And it's something I think that needs lobbying for change of the law, because the feelings that come across are that those who participate in elections actually go through a lot more. Michael, can you mute? Thank you. Those who go through elections actually go through a lot more in terms of sacrificing for the party, in terms of putting their necks out, in terms of cash expenditure. And then when they lose, they cannot even be nominated. And then people who probably just sat on the sidelines get themselves nominated into parliament. I think it leaves a bitter taste in the mouth of those who participated as candidates. And this is something that I think needs engagement and lobbying and a little more thought. If you look at the provisions in the constitutional amendment bill, it is now being proposed that precedence on the party list nominations will be given to those who contested in that election and got a great number of votes. So there's already recognition that candidates who actually contest need some sort of recognition. So I think this is something that if the bill doesn't go through, we need to probably engage by lobbying. Now, the other thing is right now the sharing of seats is in proportion to the number of seats that a political party wins, and that's how the seats are shared. Now, this has been disadvantaging parties, especially I think your party has been one of the parties to suffer this, where you get a great number of votes. In terms of votes garnered, there are many, but in terms of seats won, there are not many. So you don't end up getting a slot for nomination. So the proposal in the constitutional amendment bill is that these seats will be allocated on the strength of the number or total number of votes garnered and not seats won. This will open this up and give more opportunities to other parties to also be allocated party lists. So those are some of the things that might change as we are going on, but right now it is what I am saying to you. So that is it. Next slide. So this is the allocation of seats, which we talked about at length. And I already said there are the challenges that the commission faces. And I think political parties need to find a way of engaging the IEBC way before IEBC allocates these seats so that there's a defined formula, it's understood. And I think there should even be a requirement that before IEBC gazettes these names, they call in the political parties so that a consensus is reached. Because once they're gazetted as members of parliament or members of the county assembly, it is very difficult to get them out unless you go to court to challenge it, which is costly and time wasting as well. So parties should find a way of engaging IBC and making it a provision that they let you discuss the list and have consensus before the names are gazetted as members of parliament. Next slide. Next slide. Thank you. Now, there's reallocation of seats, which also I kind of mentioned. Now, a seat may be reallocated when one dies, withdraws, changes parties, resigned, or is expelled. So that seat will be allocated to the next person of the list and should be of the same gender and from the respective political party. Now, where there are no more candidates, let's say you presented your party list and IBC has gone through your list and has reached the bottom, and there's a vacancy that belongs to your party, a vacancy that should be filled by a person of your party, then your party needs to fill that vacancy within 21 days, within 3 weeks. Yes, within 21 days. And once that is, once you're notified, you must provide that name within 3 weeks. If you do not provide a name within 3 weeks, then you lose that vacancy and that seat will not be allocated to anyone else. It will remain vacant for the remainder of the term of that assembly. So it's important that a political party is well placed to replace names or to add new names where they are called upon to do so at short notice. So probably how to go about that would we have a reserve list from which they can pick and which will not be contentious, which will not require a meeting to come and verify. There could be that reserve list that is left at the secretariat, which permits the secretariat to quickly respond to a request for a name without having to call a special meeting or coming to consult. So probably that's the way to go about it, because otherwise a party may lose that seat. Now, if the vacancy arises 3 months to the next election, then that vacancy will not be filled. It will remain vacant until the next election. Next slide. Now, settlement of disputes. We all know that elections, primaries, whatever, will always arise in disputes because there's always that one person who believes nilinyang'anywa, I won, lakini something happened. So there'll always be disputes. That I think is a given from any election. And I think Trump must be the king of election disputes. He really took it to the wire this time. So yes, there'll always be disputes. So how do we handle disputes? What do we do with disputes around party primaries and even the general election? Now, there are 3 entities that exist at the basic that can deal with this. We have first port of call is the internal dispute resolution body, which means every political party must provide for an internal dispute resolution body. And this body will be able to hear and deal with the disputes arising from party primaries and other issues. The only issue with this internal dispute resolution body is all the political parties have it in their rules and provide for them. But very few political parties decentralize their operations, which makes it very, very difficult for aspirants to approach it or for aspirants to actually get proper justice in it. Because when it's decentralized, it means I have to come from Lamu all the way to Nairobi to file a petition within 3 days. In these 3 days, I have collected evidence, I have traveled. We know the difficulty of traveling from somewhere like Lamu or Garissa or Mandera, let's say. And you expect me to be in Nairobi within 3 days to file my petition. It's almost foolhardy. But yes, that's the challenges that we have. So decentralizing would make a lot of sense. The other reason why decentralizing and devolving the IDRBs makes sense is because this is electioneering time. Campaigns are going on. My opponent I'm challenging, Ako Ground, he's continuing to campaign. I am sitting in Nairobi trying to get a lawyer, trying to file my case. Ground in a shift, Jameni. It will be very difficult for me to come back na kushika ground. So devolving it so that I'm within my county of operation, even as I petition, would be very, very useful. And it's something we need to think around. Then we have the IEBC. The IBC is mandated under Article 88 to actually listen to petitions arising from party primaries. And the good thing with the IBC is the law requires them to resolve the disputes within 10 days. So this is the quickest tribunal I've heard about in all these tribunals. Political parties provide for 30 days in the internal dispute resolutions. Range, please mute. Thank you. So political parties in the IBRBs provide for 30 days. The political parties tribunal goes on forever. IEBC is mandated to determine your dispute within 10 days. That's the fastest tribunal. And anybody wanting quick justice would rather go to the IEBC to listen to their dispute, and you will get a good decision. And this is one area, especially offenses around disobedience of the code of conduct, things like violence, things like defacing my posters and issues like that. Go to the IBC, you'll get a quick judgment. It's a very fantastic tribunal. It works well, it works fast, it has zero formality. You can file your petition now, stand on the dock and finish your matter. So it's something we need to take advantage of as aspirants if we need to resolve a dispute quickly. Now, the only thing is that in the proposed constitutional amendment bill, they are proposed to take away this power from the IBC. If that bill sees the light of day, then IBC will no longer have the power to listen to disputes around party primaries. But it was a very good tribunal for that issue. Up to now, it is a very good tribunal for that issue. Next slide. Political Parties Dispute Tribunal is also another entity that deals with disputes, and it has a broad jurisdiction. It doesn't only deal with party primaries, it can even deal with disputes arising right now between members of the party, between coalition partners, political party partners, and any other issue. So it has a broad jurisdiction. It doesn't work just at election times, it works throughout the year. So it's a court it's a tribunal you can approach at any time to hear your disputes, and party primaries are one of the disputes it hears. The only thing with the PPDT one, it is not also decentralized, it is only in Nairobi. So again, very, very challenging for people from out of town to access during election processes. And because it is only Nairobi, it is packed to the limit. To get your matter heard and determined is just a nightmare. Sometimes they work, and I must commend them, they work up to midnight, they work on weekends. It's crazy what they do, but it is not sufficient to actually give proper, fair justice to people. Sometimes they don't even allow you to bring evidence because of timelines. And I think it's really sad. We need to redefine how also this tribunal works, but it exists and it helps. Appeals from the tribunal can go to the High Court, and appeals from the High Court can go to the Court of Appeal. So that's the regime around the settling of disputes around party primaries. So as a political party, I think the key thing for us is to ensure we have our internal dispute resolution board and that it works effectively and offers a service that will give our party members the feeling of justice. Justice must just not only be done, but must be seen to be done. So we've got to make it work in a way that leaves the party members feeling, yenyewe, I have gone, I've had my day, and the decision was fair. So that is it. Next slide is the registration of a political party. Now, this is a provision in the Political Parties Act. And one of the grounds for deregistration of a political party is where a political party fails to promote free and fair nomination of candidates and where the party fails to adhere to the law relating to nomination of candidates. Now, this elevates party primaries to a very high level because it means a party can actually cease to exist, can lose its registration just because it did not conduct free and fair party primaries. If party members were actually keenly following the law, they would actually petition for the registration of their parties, because sometimes the things I see happening at party primaries are just a fiasco. The fact that it can lead to the registration of that party, I think makes us aware that this is a critical activity within our parties, and this is actually a foundation for democracy to grow on in the country. And therefore, it's taken very, very seriously, and political parties should therefore try and ensure that they promote free and fair nomination of candidates. They promote free and fair party primaries going forward. Otherwise, you might just suffer the stroke of deregistration of your political party. I thought I should bring that to your attention. Next slide is the Political Parties Fund. Now, we all know about the Political Parties Fund, and we all know how it is shared out. What I wanted to bring to your attention is the fact that where you receive the Political Parties Fund as a party, you have a duty to ensure that you use that money to promote the representation in Parliament and in the county assemblies of women, persons with disabilities, youth, ethnic and other minorities. And you must ensure, if where you receive the fund, that not less than 30% of what you receive was used on this. This is just an affirmative action clause, but also a powerful clause. So I would beseech the party to ensure that this happens where you receive the fund, so that we are able to actually ensure we can move towards achieving the 2/3 gender principle. Neon Ray Pro, kindly mute, and we can move to the next slide. Can we mute Neon Ray Pro, please? Okay, so that is it for the existing regime. That is what we have under the Elections Act and the Political Parties Act right now. And that's what, if an election was called today, those are the timelines you'd have to meet. Those are the rules you'd have to abide by. And that is how the party list would be allocated. So that is the law as it exists. Let us look at what is being proposed in the Political Parties Primaries Bill, a bill that has been proposed in the Senate by Honorable Mwaura and is pending processing in Senate. As I mentioned earlier, Honorable Mwaura is having issues with his political party, and we do not know how much longer he'll survive under the current injunction that he's operating under. So what is there in the Political Primaries Bill? Now, as most of you will remember, we discussed this bill last year, and we looked at all the clauses. We made suggestions for improvement, and we hoped that what would be going to the Senate would be a much, much stronger bill than what we were discussing. To my shock and consternation, it's actually a smaller, leaner bill than what we discussed. A lot of the provisions that were in that bill have been left behind. Most noticeably was the provision for funding political parties, because that has just gone. And that was one of the pluses of that bill, that parties would be funded to conduct their party primaries. So I don't know, there was going to be a fund. The fund was going to be administered by the ORPP, and political parties were going to benefit. But it seems that has not been removed, maybe because we're in triple number deaths, maybe that's the reason. So anyway, what is in this bill? Now, the bill essentially, one, it provides the organs that a political party needs to have in place to conduct effective primaries. And the organs are the Governing Council, the Elections Board, and the Dispute Resolution Board. Those are the three organs that must exist. And then it also provides that a political party must name a signatory for the nomination certificates and provide the specimen. So they're the three organs, and then the fourth thing that must be in place is a signatory named and his specimen signature provided. This signatory is the one that is the person who shall sign the nomination certificates. And these are provisions that we saw already exist even in the current regime, and nothing new is being introduced. As for those organs that we are talking about, the Governing Council, the Elections Board, and the IDRB, these are provided for in the Elections Act, and they exist. Now, one of the new things that the bill proposes to do is to determine for political parties who may sit in the elections board, determining the qualifications of people who may sit. And this might be a contentious issue because they're pegging it on academics, while I know there are political parties that express the fact that they have members who may not have sat the KCSE exam, but have been with the party long enough and know quite a bit about the party, have earned the trust and faith of the membership of the party. Maybe some are church ministers, some are elders, some are just renowned people of respect in the community who can actually serve with dignity on the elections board. But this is now being statutorily provided for, that a party must have a KCSE graduate sitting on the elections board. This is an area I'd like to hear your comments and view. An elections board is an internal organ of a party. Should they be legislating for the party? What qualifications to have for members to their internal organs? I would like to hear your views on that when we are done. Just go back a little. I think there's something I'm missing there. Yeah, then it spells out the rules of the, okay, again, it also legislates the membership of the IDRB and provides that the chair must be an advocate with 5 years experience and the members must have a KCSE certificate. Again, this is interfering with an internal organ of a political party, and I'd like to hear your views similar to the elections board. The bill also spells out the rules of the governing body and the elections board in the act. And of course, the governing body will set in motion the call for aspirants, will set in motion the criteria, and the elections board will actually call for the aspirants now, vet the aspirants and conduct the elections and come up with a final list of those who made it. The governing body is the one that shall approve the list of candidates and submit it to the IEBC. So those are the rules spelled out in the bill for the various bodies. Next slide. Now, it requires a political party to provide in its constitutional nomination the types of party primary it is allowed to hold. Then it gives options. It says a party primary conducted by a political party may include a competitive or a non-competitive party primary. When they talk of a competitive party primary, they're talking around universal suffrage, where all party members come out and vote. When they're talking of non-competitive, they seem to be making reference to voting by delegates. I'm not sure voting by delegates is not competitive because it's still a vote, and there's still going to have to be an outcome. So I'm not sure. Then it also provides that where a party is in a coalition arrangement, it must file with the commission an agreement stating the procedure they will use for nominating candidates. So this means a political party would probably need to state, will we be filing joint candidates, or each political party may go its own way with its candidates. So an agreement needs to be filed to make this clear, because there's been a lot of contestation around that issue where parties are in coalition and each party is fielding a candidate, and then they all lose to the other party just because of that sometimes. So I think we've got to be grateful for that provision, because it reminds us that this is something we need to do. Next slide. Now, the one thing the bill proposes is that if you look at the current legal regime that we have, it is up to a political party to decide the day or date on which they want to hold their primaries. But now the provisions in the proposed bill are that it is the commission that shall specify the day or days on which parties may hold their primaries. So the control is taken away from political parties and given to the commission to determine for us when to hold the party primaries. This is a very interesting provision. Again, I'd like to hear your views, but I think it's tied to the fact that there's a further proposal that the day of party primaries be made a public holiday. So I think they would like to consolidate the party primaries to a single day or 2-day event so that the holiday can be taken at a go. Because if we're to leave and allow each political party to hold its primaries whenever, there would either be too many holidays or a confusion around what day is actually a holiday. So that is a proposal there. I'd like to hear your views. And then it's proposed further that employees, employers who fail to allow the employees to go out and participate in primaries are actually committing an offense. It is the right and civic right of every citizen to participate in their political party primaries. So any employer who fails to allow the employee to go and vote at the primaries commits an offense, can be fined up to $500,000 or jailed up to 6 months in prison, or both. So you can see how important the party primaries are being considered in this bill, in terms of even creating an offense for not allowing someone to vote and creating a public holiday around it. And I think this will be important because for a long time, Kenyans do not actually take the party primaries seriously because it's a working day. Half the time people are going to work, or people just don't consider it as something much. But if it's made a public holiday and the right to vote is helped by political parties and actually the IBC in their role of civic education, I think there will be greater turnout at political party primaries, and this might strengthen our democracy to an extent. So I think that's a good provision. Next slide. Now, once the IEBC has decided that we are holding party primaries on a particular date, then the political party must notify the commission of the type of primary it's going to hold, the venue where it's going to hold it, and send in their list of aspirants. Now, what changes with this bill now is the fact that political parties can no longer request IEBC to hold or conduct their party primaries for them. That right now seems to disappear, and it is incumbent upon political parties to conduct and organize their own party primaries. So it is therefore the duty to notify IEBC that this is the type of primary we're going to conduct, these are our polling stations, and these are the list of aspirants that we have. Now, the other requirement is around party registers, and it asks that a political party maintain national, county, constituency, and ward registers and make these accessible to the public. Now, again, a fundamental difference here in the current law, once a party certifies its register 4 months to the election, it submits it to IEBC, IEBC verifies it and makes them public. Now they are providing that the register will be certified by their governing body and made public by the political party. And this might just make it very difficult for people to know when you're in another party's register. Right now, it's so easy. You just go to the website of RPP, click in your ID, and you can see if you're mistakenly registered in a party that you do not even know about. So that's another fundamental difference. Then it requires that the register be posted at the voting venue so that one can just come to a venue, confirm they're there, and proceed to vote. So those are the new proposals. Next slide. Now, where the voting is to be by delegates, the political party must provide the list of delegates to the commission, and the procedure for appointing the delegates must be found in the party constitutional nomination rules. And I'm happy to say that is present in your nomination rules, and that should not be a problem for you. Aspirants must also submit a self-declaration form, which is provided in the bill as a sample of what should be filled. And it basically complies with the leadership and integrity self-declaration form, where one is signing up that they do not have leadership or integrity issues, pending cases, or cases that have ever been, or having ever been sentenced under the Leadership and Integrity Act. Then the other thing is you're required to confirm your academic qualifications and your work history. It's all part of that self-declaration form. And to that form, you attach your academic certificates. In this regard, now everybody needs a degree, so you must at least put in a degree certificate as one of your documents. Your ID card must also be attached, and the nomination fees, proof of payment of it, must also be attached to accompany that. Now, these are requirements that are in the proposed bill, and this is what they are putting in as a minimum. Now, what parties can do is beyond this, a political party can actually in its nomination rules say that beyond and this, a person might have must have also have A, B, C, D. So you can put in more requirements. And this is where you can require that somebody should have been a member for so long or should be a life member or whatever. You can qualify that. You can also say somebody should have been active in the party and whatever. So you can add your own conditions to it. The only fear is the way this is worded so far. Somebody can actually challenge a political party for asking for more than what is provided here, and that's risky. So we'd probably be asking for an amendment that a proviso be put in that provided that a political party may ask for more documentation than just what is required here. So I think that's something we need to be alive to. Then it provides that the election boards shall vet the aspirants, the applicants, and prepare a list of aspirants. And I think that's the norm for most political parties as we go forward. And then for once they have a list of aspirants, they forward it to the commission, who must publish it in a newspaper of wide circulation or in the Kenya Gazette. Next slide. We are almost done. Be patient. Next slide. Now, disputes, it provides for disputes that all disputes must start at the Internal Dispute Resolution Board and must be filed within 3 days of the result. Then it provides that the dispute must be heard and determined within 30 days, and the proceedings must be in writing, and then appeals can go to the political parties tribunal. Now, the 30 days might be a challenge because doing 30 days, if the nominations were held at 90 days, then the 30 days brings us to 60 days to the general elections. And 60 days to the general election is the date on which a political party needs to submit its list of candidates to the IEBC. So it means that if a matter is still being heard and determined by that day, the list will go without the names of some of these people. And 15 days later, 45 days to the election, IBC is supposed to gazette these candidates. So 30 days may be a little too long if one was to hold their nominations 90 days to the elections. And then there's the new provisions they're putting in there that says no name should be submitted by a political party to the IBC when the matter is under dispute. Now that means that where somebody challenges the outcome of a party primary, that position cannot be filled by the political party. It means as the political party is presenting its list of candidates, it will have no name for that position where there's a dispute. This is very dangerous because we are working here with timelines and we are moving towards the general elections. When you give IBC these names at 60 days, when they publish them at 45 days, then they were proceeding to do ballot papers and to move towards the election. If you don't have a name as a political party within those timelines, are you being disenfranchised? Losing a chance to have a candidate just because there's a dispute? Can a rival party sponsor someone to just file a dispute so that you don't have a candidate and their person goes in declared unopposed? I think this is very dangerous. It's a good thing, the intention is good, but it can be misused to disenfranchise a party from having a candidate. So let's reconsider that. I'd like to hear your comments when we are done. Yes, next slide. Now, the bill does something which does not exist currently. It introduces offenses during party primaries. Right now, we do not have offenses existing during party primaries. It's a proposal and the steering committee report to amend the Elections Offences Act to introduce offenses even at primaries. The offenses existing in the Election Offences Act are only applicable during the general election. So this bill is proposing new offenses to extend also party primaries, and they're the usual offenses we have relating to party registers, obstruction of officials or voters, offenses relating to voting materials. If you destroy them, if you fake them, those are offenses. Undue influence on other candidates or on voters, those are offenses. Bribing voters are offenses. Violence of causes are offense, and aiding and abetting anyone to do an act that is an offense under the law is also an offense. So those are the offenses there. They're the same ones that were there, and I think it's a good idea to have offenses relating to party primaries as well. Next slide. The bill proposes to put a cap on nomination. Kindly mute. Thank you. The bill proposes to put a cap on nomination fees, and this means a party can charge anything below this, but nothing above. So this is a ceiling. So you can choose as a political party to charge less, but not to charge more. But is it fair to have this cap? What if a party is able to have candidates who can pay more? And this is a source of income for political parties. Is it right to have a cap? I don't know whether that's right. I'd like to hear your views. And then it goes ahead to provide that special interest group, which are women, youth, PWDs, ethnic and other minorities, should be paying 50% of this, not more than 50% of the stated amount. So you can charge them less, but not more than 50% of this, so that if you have a woman presidential candidate, she will not pay more than $500,000. If you have a woman gubernatorial candidate, she will not pay more than $250,000. If you have a woman candidate for MP, she'll not pay more than $125,000. And if you have a candidate for MCA who is a woman, they will not pay more than $25,000. And it's not just women, even youth, PWDs, and minorities will also be paying that reduced amount. So that's the proposal, to cap the fees and to make it 50% for the SIGs. I'd like to hear your views on that as a political party. Yeah, so the other provisions are that the party must then announce the nomination fees before the primaries. That is logical. And then aspirants to appoint their agents in writing and to have at least one per polling station. That is logical. And then it provides that the commission may outsource civic education and accredit institutions to conduct the primaries. So those were actually in the initial bill, and they continue to find their way. Final slide. Next slide. It requires political parties to come up with affirmative action policies to promote inclusion of special interest groups. And so this is in trying to find a way to get the 2/3 gender rule to be achieved. And then currently, a party cannot change the name of a candidate once they have submitted the list. But now it is saying you may have submitted your list, but if the last date of submission has not reached, if it's not the 60th day to the general election, then you can still change that name if there is reason of death, resignation, or other incapacity. That would be the only reason. And then the bill proposes to delete Section 31 of the Elections Act that deals with nomination of party candidates, and have this bill as providing for all nominations. I'm not sure that it has provided as deeply as the Elections Act does, but it's proposed to delete Section 31 there. So in conclusion, next slide. In conclusion, I would like you to just consider what you have had. You've listened to what the current regime is. You've listened to the proposals in the bill. Do you think that the bill is exhaustive enough to stand in the gap for nominations generally in the whole country? If we were to delete the provisions in the Elections Act, would this bill be able to do as much as the election laws currently do? I would like to hear your views on that. My personal view is different, but I'd like to hear your views on that. So thank you very much for listening to me. I'll now be ready to take any interventions and listen to your comments from the presentation. Thank you very much and good morning.
Oh, thank you very much, Madam Adede, for that wonderful presentation. Very elaborate. I didn't feel sleepy at all, and I feel that everybody enjoyed it, except for the undue disturbances that came from a few incidents here and there. Apologies for that. I'll request that next time, I think my participants ensure that they sit in situ to ensure that they are not disturbed by anything around them. I think it will cause those embarrassments that we may have faced. Otherwise, it's now time for you to take a cup of water as I engage our participants to air their views so that you can react to them. But let me assure you that you've taken us very thoroughly through this election cycle. This is what we go through. And it's a big reminder to my leaders that we have not been doing everything in vain, because whatever you have touched is exactly what we've been doing. What is not in the law and the proposed has also been exposed clearly. And these are the issues we would like our elected leadership at the Senate and at the National Assembly to consider carefully and to see what to bring on the table or amend and what not to. And as you retire to listen to us, may I request that before we domesticate your document as a reference material, I would request that you look into certain areas and cite the exact articles or clauses that you are referring to enable us quickly move there in the Political Parties Act, in the Elections Act. The Constitution is okay because you are very elaborate on the specific articles. So kindly do that for us and we shall be grateful. Again, I just, irrespective of the negative opinion we may have about our IBC, I want to laud it seriously and loudly, but it does give a very clear election program come in election time. They are very focused and they have helped us to move very smoothly from our primaries all the way up to the debate or the ballot. So we thank them for that clarity and that commitment, and we wish that they continue doing that. And the next time I would request that we also involve or request IBC to appear personally, I think, to elaborate on the confusion arising out of this party list issue. It's not a matter we can discuss alone away from IBC. We have to be together because they are the custodians of this process. And as you said, they have very cryptic formulas they use, I think, to arrive at the levels of nomination. And not you, me, or anybody else apart from them, I think, can tell us what it is. And we would like to decipher this area of party lists, particularly the gender top-up list and the rest of the things. It is still a big elephant in the room, and we need to deal with it. So thank you very much. And may I request my people, my leaders, all these are my leaders, elected to be where they are and to run party programs and affairs. Now to interject, at least in terms of questions or comments on the presentation that you have given, and anything extra that they may have in their mind arising out of the big experience they have. Politicians always operate outside the box, not within this set. They only set these rules, make these proposals, but they will stand aside to see whether they are workable or not, and even beginning critiquing them before they move to another level. So they are very mercurial animals, and may we have the opportunity to listen to the input as we proceed in the remaining session. Thank you. Any comments, my dear ladies and gentlemen, on this wonderful presentation?
Sijui kama naweza zungumza.
Please go
Salamu
ahead.
alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
Kwanza kabisa ningependa kushukuru Madam Odede kwa kazi ambayo ameifanya. Mimi ningependa kusema kwamba inapaswa kuwa na marekebisho kwenye sheria ili chama chote cha siasa kilicho na uwakilishi bungeni kipokee mfuko wa vyama vya kisiasa. Vyama vyote vya kisiasa vikuu haswa vina shughuli za kila siku ambazo zinahitaji hela na pia kulipa ofisi na wafanyakazi wao. Sio vyema kuona kwamba chama cha kisiasa kimeshinda karibu nusu ya viti ya bunge wabunge wao bado wanawasilisha ada ya usajili wa kila mwezi. Na kuongezea juu yake, serikali inawalipa kiasi kikubwa cha pesa kwa jina la mfumo wa vyama vya kisiasa. Sijui kama ni kesi ya Biblia ambayo inasema kwamba yeyote aliye na kitu ataongezewa zaidi, na yule hana hata kila alicho nacho atachukuliwa. Kwa maana chama cha kisiasa ambacho kinafaa kupokea hela za serikali za vyama ni kila ambacho kina wabunge kama 3, 5 ama 10 bungeni. Maana hawa ndio wanafaa kupewa pesa ili wafanye hicho chama kikuwe kubwa zaidi. Kwa hivyo hilo ni wazo langu, na ningependa kwamba kuwa na marekebisho kwenye huo mfumo wa mfuko wa vyama vya kisiasa.
Thank you. That is really a very important issue, particularly for Kenya. And we have been moving bills and the bills to rectify this problem. But the tyranny of the demons has always defeated our good intention to ensure that what you are saying happens. Because in all advanced democracies, funding is pegged on the quality of the vote. And it's about what you get, whether you are in the represented in the House of whatever level or not. Kenya's case is strange and bizarre. So let's pursue this matter as we move on. Thank you. Another interjection.
Yes, may I speak?
Yes, Khadija.
Okay, my biggest concern is on the dates of party primaries. When they say that all political parties will hold the primaries on one single day, already we see some of the political parties actually having very chaotic nominations. So imagine if ODM holds nominations today, and the same day Jubilee is holding, assuming there will be Jubilee in the next elections, holds the elections that day, Ford Kenya holds elections that day, I think wale wataumia sana will be the voters. As much as it may give a sense of loyalty to one's political party, but look at the cons. The cons are more than the pros in that proposal. Number two, I also don't think it's fair to say if a specific seat has a contest or kukona msukasuko kwa kiti fulani, that party will not field a candidate in that particular seat, because we have people who are very malicious. Tutashinda kiti and then mtu ameleta a fake aspirant in that position, alafu because they know they are going to lose that seat, they watuplantie disputes, then it will be locked out of that particular position because of that bill. Level of education of the MCS already.
Hello, Khadija, can you hear me? Hello?
I think we've lost her.
Yeah, you lost her. Thank you. But she's speaking from lots of experience from the directorate of our election department. And those points she has raised are very, very important. Before she returns, we could take another comment. I can see Burare on the screen. Are you ready to?
I'm ready. I think you can hear me. Now, the Constitution of Kenya requires political parties to conduct free, fair, and credible elections internally. It's a tenet of democracy that they want instilled in political parties. One of the things that has been a biggest problem to all political parties is the question of party primaries. For a long time now, we have experienced very chaotic party primaries. And I do not think that there is any political party that can claim to have mastered the art of conducting primaries that are free, fair, and credible as required by our constitution. I therefore believe that the political parties primaries bill is a welcome bill that is going to sort out the mess that is generated by our own political parties, so that we build them to be institutions that instill democracy or that promote democracy in our countries, because that is one thing that is lacking in our political parties. I, however, wish to highlight a few things that are also very critical in ensuring that we have credible nominations in our political parties. Number one, and which is not captured here, it may not be captured, is normally the unstated problem in the conduct of our nominations. There is always interference from the leadership of our political parties in these nominations. I therefore call upon leaders of political parties to ensure that to promote democracy in our own political parties, they should steer clear of democracy by ensuring that there is no interference. Interference to the electoral board is what causes so many problems because of preference for certain candidates. One other aspect that is very critical, and it has been highlighted here, is the question of the party, of the membership register. It has been a problem. It is always a requirement that political parties have to keep membership registers. But the problem comes in when you go to the ground and realize that the ground is hostile for those membership registers to be used. One of the problems has been the late registration of some members. You may ensure that the registers are ready, they have been certified by the governing body, but then there are always members who register late, particularly towards election time. Those members feel agitated whenever they are not captured in those registers. And I think political parties now will have a very difficult task, or they will have a task, so to speak, of ensuring that they put things in place at the right time, ensuring that registration is done properly. Maybe we can set our own internal deadline of when to ensure that the final registers to be submitted to the commission are ready. But it is known clearly who are the people who participate in the party primaries. This is important because we do not want imposters sent by our opponents to come and participate in our primaries, so that we set ourselves up for failure in the eventual election. Another thing that our facilitator has touched on, and which I agree with her, I also do not agree with the 30 days period within which to listen to disputes arising out of our nominations. It's actually a very long period. I suggest that in that bill, maybe we can have like between 10 to 20 days. That would be okay for me. All matters arising out of those nominations should be sorted around that time.
72 hours.
However, there is something that has bothered me. The question of the ceiling in terms of registration for candidates. Much as that is a very good requirement, but I have a problem with the how much has been set aside for those who wish to run for president. If you want to run as a president of a country, you must be somebody who has flesh, somebody who has the right temperament to make decisions, somebody who has stability of mind. If we look at And one of the things to show that you actually have the capacity to live is if you are able to pay that amount. If we therefore say that men should pay a certain amount of money to run for presidents, and then we say that if a woman wishes to run for the same position, she pays less. It seems we are saying that to run for presidents, only women are underprivileged. We have so many people who may want to run for that position. What guarantee is there that they have capacity to pay that money, and that the only people who should pay half of that money are the women because they're underprivileged? I think we need to change the narrative now that society is changing, and women are taking up much bigger roles. And for example, you can imagine if Samia Suluhu was in Kenya and you want to run against her, and then she pays half, and then you pay full amount. Look at the logic that is there. Otherwise, thank you so much, Madam Modete, for your facilitation. I'm very much enriched. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Brale. Thank you for those many comments.
Thank you, Brale. Thank you for those many comments.
Let's now give Councillor Modete time to react to these few sentiments expressed before we move to another round of comments and questions. Madede, please react to these few comments and the questions raised.
Okay, thank you, members. Thank you for your comments. Most of them are actually not clear questions, they're comments. And I actually concur largely with what is being said. I think ED started off by thanking IEBC, and we thank you for actually bringing it out that they actually try to assist political parties, because that means they're actually carrying out their mandate, and it's good to know that they actually assist parties. And I think your call that IBC be called in to discuss the party list is a good thing. Although what I was kind of saying is political parties should actually, as a whole, using the political parties liaison committee which exists, engage IBC throughout from now till the nominations on that issue, so that it is discussed and over discussed, and it doesn't become something that's pulled from under the table at the last minute. Because even if we call them here to explain and they're still going to do what they do, I think there needs to be a lot of engagement, continuous engagement, up to even post the general elections. And one of the things I said was that they should actually show the list that they propose to gazette to political parties before they're gazetted, so that there is an opportunity to engage them upon it and upon its veracity before it is published. So I think that's a good thing to invite somebody here, but I think political parties also need to continue engaging IBC on that issue until we reach the elections. I think, Musa, you raise a very valid point when you talk about the political parties fund. I've always personally felt that its application is very unfair to the bigger parties. And it will always be unfair, because the smaller parties will find it will take a long time for them to get there. And it should also be applied like an affirmative action fund to grow parties that at least have gotten some representation in parliament. So I agree with you, because what you say might just help the smaller parties to also grow to the level of some of those parties that are getting the fund. So I concur. Hadija, you highlight issues that continue to be a thorn in the flesh of party primaries, hooliganism, violence, chaos, especially from the rival political parties, and holding them on the same day would require a lot of planning to ensure to a great extent it is peaceful, but definitely it will take time for Kenyans to get to that level. But I don't know how that would act, but it would definitely be chaotic, as you say. Your other point is around disputes and saying that malicious people can take advantage of that provision that says where there's a dispute over an election result or over a result from the primaries. The political party should not submit the name for a candidate for that particular position until the dispute is heard and determined. Indeed, this is a dangerous provision, and I think we need to flag it out going forward, because unless there are certain provisions that if the matter is not heard by the 60th day, then the name can be submitted of the person who the party had cleared. I don't know, because otherwise we'll be disenfranchising ourselves from having candidates. And as Hadija, you say, malicious people will sponsor a third party to just come and mess us up as we go forward. David, you raise a lot of interesting issues, and I like how you start off. You start off by analyzing what's a free, fair, and credible election and the constitutional provisions around it. But then you go on to say, but we have been bedeviled by bad primaries throughout. We've not been able to get it right. And you're hoping that this bill will sort out the mess. I hope so too, but I think in certain regards, it still falls short of doing what it needs to do. I think the bill, the flag falls at the door of political parties to try and ensure they do this. And you raise one of the issues that stops us from doing this, the interference from party leaders. I think that's one challenge we need to overcome amongst ourselves as political parties. So you've raised it, it's something that is known, so we must internally go back and re-examine ourselves and see how do we take up this challenge, how do we deal with it. The issues on the party registers and late registration, I think again, this is funded by aspirants on the ground. It is aspirants who start recruiting members outside time, because remember, by the time we call for aspirants, we've already submitted our party register. Party register is supposed to be submitted 4 months to the general elections. Now, by the time we are calling for aspirants, the list has been sealed. But aspirants at that point in time think they can still recruit new members and have those members vote at the election. And I think this is the mischief that we need to cure. Aspirants should be made to know that there'll be no more registration. If they go ahead and register people at that time, those people will not participate. I think these are things that a party should make very, very clear to their aspirants, because this mess is always caused by an aspirant sponsoring people to register as members so that they get onto the party list and vote for them. So political parties have a task to do in terms of making it clear that it's the register that we submitted 4 months to the general election that shall be operative. And therefore, if anybody wants to recruit members, recruit them now, between now and next year, March, not from March next year to August. I think that's, we need to have civic education around those issues so that members are knowledgeable, empowered, and able to work around that as well. Your views on the IDRB, the days are too many, should be 10 to 20. Those are views that can be taken on board. And then you raise the views of the nomination ceiling and wondering, are women the only underprivileged people? This is a debate I wouldn't like to start here right now. It's a debate that never quite ends. I always say sometimes that we're living in a society where we definitely have, not all women are underprivileged, not all women are unable to pay. In fact, some of the women aspirants are much better off financially than their male counterparts. It's a fact. But because this is affirmative action to bring up that entire journey of gender called women as a group, we cannot start separating the able woman from the woman who's not able, and we cannot disenfranchise the woman is not able just because a few are able. And I think what we should be looking at is how do we increase numbers of women in politics. So we should look at it from the point of view, not of ability or inability to pay the finances, but this is an encouragement, a way of encouraging more women to come and take up leadership positions, encouraging more women to contest against their male counterparts in this position so that we achieve more of the 2/3 gender rule through the election ballot box rather than by nomination. So I suppose we can temper it and look at it more a way of encouraging more women to participate in elections. I know it's a contentious issue, but I would like to leave it there for now. Thank you. And I can see David is already ready to counter that. But thank you very much.
Contentious issues. Thank you. Murare, the Secretary in Nairobi, count also wants, apart from the Election Offences Act and apart from the Party Primaries Act, I think he also wants a specific Nomination Offences Act for political parties. He has cited some very sensitive areas that need to be governed, I think, for purposes of transparency and accountability in political parties. Thank you. Now, members, we just have about 5 minutes left to wind up. May you quickly say what you have within this short time so that our Lady Council can pick up and conclude in the nick of time. Who else is on the floor? Hey, Bramwell.
Honorable Mandu has his hand up.
Okay, we can have Bramwell and then the National Organizing Secretary Mandu winding up.
Kakamega here.
Karibu.
Hi, hello.
Yes, we can hear you, Bramwell.
Well, mine was just to compliment Madam Odede. I think it was a very enlightening presentation. And just to request that if you could kindly share the slides, I think would be very helpful. Thank you.
National Organizing Secretary.
There was a Johnston from Kakamega asking to speak.
Oh, SG, Kakamega County.
From Kakamega County.
Karibu.
Yes.
How are you?
I'm fine, Edie.
Karibu. Please speak
now,
up.
I have a question here. This is about party membership. Hello? This is about party membership. We have a problem whereby our citizens today are members in more than one more than one political party. You find that your name is missing or is there, or you know, at the end of the day, for example, I'm a Ford Kenya member. But when I go to the political parties, I find I'm registered with another political party. Just because this Safaricom list is used to by this M-Pesa people to register people in other political parties. What is being done to stop such an anomaly? Thanks.
Move on. Can the rest of us mute, please? Who is on the floor?
Roderick, please mute. Edie, it seems your member is not here. He's not speaking.
Yes, Roderick, I think the waves and the convention currents of Vihiga and the Lake Basin are affecting him. Otherwise, I know he has a very important issue to raise from Vihiga. So can we have the anyways, Mando saying something?
Thank you. Hello, can I come on?
Yes, please. You have the floor.
I want to appreciate Madam Odede for very elaborate information, teachings that she has given us. I think everything is clear. What I would like to say is some few comments. She talks of nominations. For example, in Kenya, we have different modes of nomination. We have queuing, we have delegate, we have so on. But when you talk of hello, hello,
We can hear you.
yes, I want to appreciate what Madam Adede said. We can broaden our requirement for nominations. For example, nomination time is very mortal time. It can bring a lot of chaos. Most parties have come down or have lost because of doing very short nominations. And without being careful, you can end up in a very horrible situation. We have what we call scientific nomination, whereby, for example, in Funyula, you find that somebody called A or B is more popular than B. Is it also possible to include it in our nomination rules that the party can go out its way and use scientific nomination? I've seen it working even in other countries like Europe. You'll never see people going to queue to nominate their candidates. The party just nominate using that kind of scientific. Owing to time, I think I'll stop there. I've taken note of everything, but I would just like Madam Adede, if it's possible, among the things that she mentioned, if it's possible to include in her broaden, wherever to use scientific.
Thank you. Anyways, I think that will also be an internal issue requiring us to amend our own nomination rules to take care of that, and it can be done. Madam Adede, karibu for your last comments.
Thank you. Thank you very much for all your comments. Bramwell, CMD will be sharing the slides with all of you. They have your email addresses, so you will get them. Johnston, you talk about party memberships. How can we make sure that you're not registered in the wrong party? The only way to do this is actually just to go to the website of RPP and then lodge a complaint. It's a roundabout manner, but it's the only thing that exists now. And that's why you need to constantly keep checking to ensure you're not a member of a party you never knew even existed. But that's the only checklist we have now in terms of ensuring that you belong to your political party. Honorable Mandu, thank you for your comments. It is very possible to include the scientific formula as one of the means by which a party can nominate its candidate. It's worked very well in Finland, and I know it can work here if party members have trust and faith in each other. But before you can do it, we will not put it in the law, but these are the extra things that a political party, remember the law says that a political party will provide in its nomination and constitution the types of primaries the party can hold. So a party is at liberty to provide for whatever kind of nominations it wants. I think one of the things we need to start thinking around is also electronic voting for political parties. Very cheap, very effective, very correct. Maybe that's something that parties can consider. But again, are parties interested in a correct result? That's where the story starts. But again, that's one of the things. So yes, a scientific formula can be included, but it must be included in your nomination rules or your constitution as a party. So I think I've answered, responded to all the issues. Buana Idi, I'd like to thank all of you very, very much. You've been an awesome audience. I've enjoyed my time with you. And I wish you all the best in the next general election as a political party. And I wish you all a beautiful afternoon. Asanteni sana.
Thank you. Under normal circumstances, we would have said him a coffee, Councillor Dede, but we've done it, and we're really grateful. May I just request our members that next time, whereas we prepare to make some comments, I would also like you to make a lot of comments on the chat so that anytime we fail to reach you to make your comment, we can easily capture it on the chat. Please make use of the chat next time, yeah, so that we have a lot of rich views captured in this kind of discussion. Thank you very much, Madam Councillor Dede. Thank you very much, my members of the party, for appearing. And thank you very much, CMD, for giving us this opportunity. Please, I hand the program back to you to close. Maureen, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Wana Idi. And thank you everyone for taking time, to stay online and to get to learn more from our facilitator today. Now, let me just take this opportunity to just officially now wind up the meeting by saying thank you so much and appreciating our facilitator, Ms. Roslyn Odede, for that wonderful facilitation. It's always a pleasure having you here, to continue enlightening the political party members on what the legislation provides for, in order to prepare them to, effectively handle their business once we move. I hope we'll continue to engage not only with the MD, but even with the political party as Ford Kenya once you called upon. To Bonana Musule, thank you so much for that wonderful facilitation. And to the members of Ford Kenya, asanteni sana for coming for the meeting, and thank you so much for your feedback. We've noted down the various concerns that you had, and we hope that as we move forward, we'll be able to address them even as we move towards the 2022 general election. From here in CMD-Kenya, just to say asanteni sana na mkuwe na mchana mwema, and we hope to continue engaging. Thank you so much and goodbye. Goodbye, everyone.
Steve.
Thank you very much and goodbye.
Steve.
Mando. Thank you so much.
Acha chocha bwana. Kwani tukimaliza kazi tusimamiane, mwalimu ataendelea.
Hello?
Hello.
Hello?
Yes. Hello.
Yes, Mandu.
This is Wakoli.
Wakoli.
Yes.
How are you?
I'm fine.
Umepotelea wapi?
Tuko mashinani, tuko kazi mashinani.